Hello, Figurama crew. I know I'm going through my backlog of G.I. Joe classifieds, but I wanted to interrupt that and catch up some current figures that just came out. So today we're actually going to look at Falcon and CoverGirl, which is a special treat for me because I know who Falcon is. As you know, I love the G.I. Joe movie. I adore it. So I know who Falcon is. I know his character, his struggles, his motivation in life. CoverGirl, on the other hand, I have no idea who she is, believe it or not. So during the course of this video, I'm going to research who she is and find old pictures of her and stuff. So that's exciting for me. I get to learn. I get to do something. So that's why we're jumping around a little bit today. I'm about to release part 3 of the G.I. Joe mass unboxing. And there's going to be at least 3 more parts to that series, but I definitely wanted to jump forward and play with the newest figures. So come with me on a journey to open Falcon and CoverGirl. Right, here they are in their windowless packaging, which I despise. However, I don't like windowless packages, right? I like to see my figures before I buy them. You can see, small imperfections and stuff like that. Like I've seen Lady J's before with like 2 left hands and stuff like that. So it's definitely nice to see the figure first, but honestly, I actually like these boxes because I like the art. I'm a fan of the art on the G.I. Joe boxes thus far. How each character has a different art style and all that good stuff. And so these boxes actually really showcase the art. It's like, a full bam, splash image of the different artworks for the different characters. And I actually kind of dig it. I wish I'd show you actual pictures of the figures too and not the, CG mock-ups they do. But you gotta pick and choose your battles. And so let's check them out separately, check out the boxes separately. So this is Courtney CoverGirl Krieger. And she first appeared in Series 2. So this is based on the version 1 version. She didn't have a lot of versions of figures. And her version 1 was in Series 2, 1983. And I never had her growing up. And I alluded to in the intro that I don't even know who she is. Really? But after doing the research for this episode, it's funny how memories work, right? Obviously, I do remember her. Like, she was in the comic book. She was in the show. Although in the show, she had like sort of 2 separate versions. She had like a blonde version and later she changed to like the version we see now, like the redheaded version a little bit. And I think maybe in my little, 10-year-old, 8-year-old mind, that maybe I kept getting her mixed up with Scarlet or something like that. And so that's why I have no memory of her. However, looking at pictures and doing my research online, I do remember her. She was in the series. She's an actual person. She's real. She's real, I tell you. So like I said, it's got her name there. It's got the cool art there. It looks a little sort of anime inspired or so. On the first side, it's not different art or extended art like the original boxes. It's just, a sliver of the front art. The back does have a little bit more than the old backs, which were garbage and I hate, and I'm not going to harp on them anymore. This one still doesn't show any other figures in the series, but it at least shows what's in the box. Because the box ain't got a window, it's got to show them somewhere. And then over here on this side are her skills. So she is number 59 in the series. She is a tanker, light weapons, mechanical engineering, and weapons. Weapon development, I think. And that tanker is the key here. That's why I did not own her when I was young, is she actually came with a vehicle. It's a vehicle that looks similar to this. It's called the Wolverine. It's a Wolverine tank. Obviously, I'll put a picture here. And this is a much sort of smaller version on here than what she originally came with. But that's why I never had her. Because she wasn't a single released figure. She only came with the vehicle. And I never had that vehicle. I couldn't get vehicles when I was that little. So just like the other G.I. Joes I didn't have when I was little, I'm happy to have it now. Moving on. Vincent R. Falcon Falcone. Wow. What a great nickname. It almost matches his last name. Anyways, I'm sure during this episode, I'm probably going to call him Flint by accident more than a couple times, even though I know who Falcon is. But anyways, he's got the same box, different style art on the cover, obviously. It's a little more stylized, a little more abstract than CoverGirl. I definitely like the CoverGirl artwork a little bit better. The anime style looks cool. It's got the shot of Mr. Falcon down there. Now, unlike the cover girl, this other side actually is a continuation of the art on the front. It's not just a sliver of it like the cover girl one. Back is the same style as cover girl. It does have his icons over here, and then obviously the shots of, you know, the CGI figure, not even the real figure. This is the CGI mock-ups. And on the other side, 64 in the series, he is a leader, because he is a lieutenant, right? Lieutenant Falcon. Light weapons, medic, and linguistics. So he's a talker, okay? You know that from the movie. He's a talker. And this figure is based on the version 1 figure of him. He didn't have a lot of versions either along the whole series. Maybe he wasn't that popular of a figure, you know? And he didn't appear till series 6 in 1987. And I did have him when I was younger. I distinctly remember it. I don't have him anymore, obviously. But I distinctly remember having him because he had that backpack with the antenna sticking off, which they did again here. I distinctly remember having that backpack. So I know I had him when I was younger. And I do have a couple of the movie figures still. I have Globulus and Nemesis Enforcer and stuff like that. So I'm sure I probably got him at the same time because, again, the G.I. Joe movie, that's my jam. All right, we're going to pop open CoverGirl first and take a little peek at everything. All right, CoverGirl here. Kind of a mixed bag, but pretty good overall. I think a pretty good modernization of the first figure, and just like Scarlet's first figure, CoverGirl's first figure was kind of very brown and potato-y again. She just looked like a potato. pretty similar to Scarlet, to be honest with you. I think maybe that's why I have in my kid brain them mixed up a little bit. There is a lot of reuse here though. Like I don't know, from this part down is basically all reuse. These are Lady J's legs, the entire legs, the crotch, all the way down to her feet is all Lady J, just repainted. And you can tell, which it doesn't really make sense to do that necessarily, logistically wise, because she's actually, you know, she's got the pouches here, like G.I. Joe Classified does. She can put her phone in there, her tablet or whatever it comes with, a gun there too, but it covers up pockets. So you can see there's pockets behind. So obviously, if these legs weren't, you know, reused, you wouldn't have a holster covering up a pocket, you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. So that's how you can tell. It was pretty easy to spot the reuse here, you know what I mean? And I don't know, CoverGirl's not a super well-known figure, I guess, so maybe that's why they skimped a little bit on her. But as far as I could tell, like the jacket and the arm sleeves and the gloves and everything, those are a new sculpt. And obviously the head's a new sculpt too. So most of her appearances in the show in the comic book, the cartoon in the comic book, she's even in the movie a little bit. She's not a prominent member in the movie. She's just in the background a couple times, as far as I can tell, based on my research. Like I said, the show goes through 2 versions of her. There's a blonde version of her, I guess, that the series originally started out with, and then eventually they changed her to the version to match the comic books and everything. But she is a prominent figure in some of the episodes. There's some episodes that are sort of based on her, because she is an iconic character a little bit, right? She's a tanker. She drives tanks. She can fix them. She's the mechanic and everything. And she was definitely featured in a few episodes as far as my research goes. And I mean, other than the reuse on the legs, everything here looks pretty good. Like, it definitely fits the aesthetic, that CoverGirl, that aesthetic that they're going for. Right after Lady J, it's the only other female figure I know of with double elbows and double knees, but it's typically, it's generally the base G.I. Joe articulation here, so there's no surprises. And I've really been complimenting the faces on the G.I. Joe Classified series so far. I really love the face sculpts and everything. And I would say this one is pretty good. Sculpt-wise, I think paint job-wise, it could be a little better. I think the hair could use a little bit of a wash or something. But I definitely like the eyes, like the eye makeup they put on, all the different colors in there, the lipstick, she's really a cover girl, like the old makeup down, the old makeup commercials, cover girl. The updates are good. She's not the most exciting character, but it is nice to get another, active female character in the lineup. There wasn't a lot of them, and they've hit most of them already, to be honest with you. Lady J, Scarlet, Baroness, cover girl. What else are they missing? Jinx. So most of the sculpting details we already went over with Lady J, like I said, from this part down, it's all that. So So the new sculpt on this is, the face, which I'm a fan of the sculpt. I'm a fan of the hair sculpt. And she does have a backpack hole in the back. But overall, on the vest, I definitely like the sculpt of the vest. I especially like this part on the back, right? I like little details like that, where you don't necessarily will see that all the time. But it's a nice little, change up of textures and colors and everything like that. Give it some contrast. So I do like it overall. I know some people aren't a fan of the heads. They're swapping out the heads for other heads to get her a little closer to a classic look, but I definitely don't mind this modernization at all. I wish the paint app on the hair was a little bit better, and maybe the hair could be a little longer too, but I think in essence that this follows the sort of guidelines of the, original CoverGirl. Another sort of thing I noticed too is the skin tone's off on her chest right here. It's a little bit lighter than the actual plastic of her head and her neck. I wish they could match colors better, because I can see it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But everything here hits all the notes of the G.I. Joe Classified series. Like, I definitely like it, and it's good to have another female in the crew. Alright, first things first is this gun, and I do believe this is a new sculpt. See the star on the handle? So it's got really good carved details in here, and it's got, a paint job. It's got a little accent. So again, maybe budget-wise, since there was so much reuse on her, they went the extra mile with the accessories a little bit. And this is definitely one of the best handguns in the series for sure. The color and the sculpting details, this is nice. And her other weapon here is a shotgun with good sculpted details, and it's got more painted on accents, which I really like. So it's a very nice shotgun. Very, slim and slender, but it's got nice details. It looks realistic and futuristic enough, and I like the sculpt work and the details. All right, in her last two accessories, she's got a wrench right here, because obviously, she's a tanker. She maintains and fixes stuff, so obviously she needs a wrench, right? What can you do without a wrench in this day and age? And then she's also got what I thought was a cell phone, but, it's definitely bigger than that, so I guess it's a little tablet, like a little, I don't know, you can get maybe repair schematics on it or something like that. I would just consider that a tablet. And that's actually the Wolverine she originally came with on here. So I wonder what the plan is with her, if they're going to release that eventually, maybe as a HasLab thing or something like that. I don't really know. But that's the tank she originally came with, the Wolverine. Belt, just like that. She's got a wrench. Tablet goes in there. It does only go one way. Take a note. It does only go one way. And that is Courtney CoverGirl Krieger. I definitely like the updates, and I definitely like the sculpt work of the new sculpt stuff here. I like her accessories. I like how everything obviously goes on the body. It's nice to have another female figure in the line too. Double elbows, double knees, so she poses extremely good so far. I definitely dig this figure, even though it's not the most exciting figure to me. Like I said before, I like having another female for the line, and I think there's a little bit of production issues, like the paint matching, a lot of reuse here, but I definitely dig it. All right, let's pop open Mr. Falcon. Well, this is a thing that they made and they released and they sold for money. I don't know. I've been messing with this for a little bit, and there's definitely some issues here. But I don't know how to describe this. Where do I start? Okay, well, let's start with the body, because the most glaring thing to start with is that. But let's start with the body first. So the body is very slender. I don't see much reuse here because it's very minimalistic, I would say. A hallmark of the G.I. Joe Classified series so far is armor, knee pads, big, shin guards, and armor and vest and wraps and, holsters and stuff like that. And this is super, super minimal, right? So I think this is a unique sculpt, and maybe they had the B team in sculpting this or something like that, but it leaves a lot to be desired. The proportions are maybe a little bit off. I think his legs could be a little longer. And I don't know what they were thinking with this vest thing. Look at how far it pops up. You have to keep like putting it down as far as you can to make it look sort of natural, or else it, it's just popping up like that, which looks obviously absolutely ridiculous, right? So you're gonna have to keep like pulling this down. Maybe it stays on better once you have the backpack on or something like that. But keep pulling this down because this is one piece, and the sculpt work on this piece is good, right? Sculpt work on mostly everything I would say is pretty good, except for the glaring thing that we'll talk about in a second that I don't even... So these floating straps are definitely sort of problematic. If you move the legs, this does pop up a little bit. So like I said, maybe the straps will stay down once we get the backpack in, we'll see. And then this thing too, this beret, this bandana, or not beret, this bandana or, scarf or whatever that he always wore and thing, it looks like it's just floating there. It doesn't look natural at all. It's just like there. It doesn't fit inside his collar. Like, look how ridiculous that looks. Like, I don't know. There's been some hits and misses with the G.I. Joe Classified series so far, way more hits than misses. And the misses have been barely misses. Like, Gung Ho's got some issues, and there's a couple issues with some of the other figures. But this seems like a super big miss to me. Because I'm going to put pictures here of, how he looked in the comic book and the movie. This doesn't look anything like he looked there. This face looks like the dude that flew with Lando Calrissian in the Millennium Falcon and Return of the Jedi. He looks like Sloth from the Goonies. I mean, he looks a little like a Mr. Bean if someone sat on his face. So I've been super, super happy with the face sculpts in this series so far. And this one just seems way off compared to what it was. He looks way older. And I mean, it doesn't look like the same character, like at all. So, and Falcon was kind of a generic design anyways. He had some similarities to Flint and, maybe Duke, which from the movie, they're half-brothers, I believe. But he was the younger half-brother. Younger, right? This does not look young at all. He was, young and experienced in the movie. He was the epitome of frail, privileged man who didn't know what he was doing and was just skating by because of his name. And this figure looks like Mr. Potato Head or something. So this is definitely a miss for me for sure. I mean, some of the sculpt work is good. The colors aren't great either because his suit is camouflaged, but you can't see it because the two colors are so close together. All it looks like is dirt. Like, it looks like it's a dirty, muddy mess rather than, distinct camouflage going around because the colors are too similar to each other, if that makes sense. So this is not camouflage. This is, I don't know, this figure's blowing my mind right now. The quality of this figure compared to the rest of the G.I. Joe Classified line. So we got a shotgun here, and sort of like Flint's, it does a little bit more. It does have this handle that can, go up or come down. It's got, painted on ammo there. It's got a painted on thing right here. I don't know what you want to call that. I don't know, guns. But it does have good details, and this is a nice touch too. Even this end piece moves a little bit too. So again, super nice touches on this for sure. He typically will hold it like that, I guess, and then, when he needs a little... Oh, and the thing just fell off. All right, I got it back on. Anyways, maybe because he's a new sculpt. I don't know. I'm done making excuses. All right, the gun's pretty cool. He does come with a little stabby too, a little stabby knife, and it does have good carved on details. It is the two-tone color. So again, accents on the weapons. Maybe it's a regular thing they're going to start doing now. Looks pretty cool. I like the, the serrated edge right there, the little piece missing right there. It's got the sculpted handle and everything. I don't think this is reuse, but it could be somewhere along the line. And he does have the backpack with the antenna. This is his signature backpack from his old figure that I remember. The antenna was curved at the end or something, or it looked like a sort of a 7 or something like that. I definitely remember that. So this one, they just made it go straight up. But the details here are really cool. This is definitely a homage to his first figure. This rope is actually a separate piece too. I don't think it comes off, but it's definitely a separate piece on there. So that's a nice touch. The painted on canteens give it a little contrast. Even the antenna's a little bit lighter green. I don't know if they did that on purpose or if it was, again, matching the plastic color. I don't know. But it does have a knife holder right there, so stick the knife right in there. Ding! So he does have a knife holder. I was wondering that when I first pulled him out, there was nowhere to put the knife on his body, but obviously I found it eventually. So, you know, the backpack is a nice homage to his old figure. I definitely like the backpack. Good quality and everything. Sculpt work, thumbs up. And of course, he comes with the beret. The beret he was never without, or maybe he was. And the beret is definitely an improvement a little bit, but not much. If you can get it down in the right spot. Anyways, the beret is definitely an improvement a little bit, but I still think he looks a little old. He looks a little Opie-ish from, you know, Opie. If you're old, you know who Opie is. And I don't know. To me, it does not look enough like the show. And he's not as iconic as the other characters. Meaning, if you saw this from a distance, you wouldn't be right off the bat, hey, that's Falcon. I know that, right? Because he had, you know, a generic costume, and this is just a generic figure, and the likeness doesn't look like him. So to me, that's a fail. It's a fail in the series. So I'm happy to have the figure. You know, I adore the G.I. Joe movie, and I liked Falcon. He was a main character from the movie, even though he, you know, he's a whiny white dude, underachieving white dude. But still, this figure has got a lot of issues. Let's get the rest of his gear on. Alright, so there he is with all his gear. Obviously, he's got the standard G.I. Joe articulation. He's got a nice watch. There's a plus. Backpacks are a little wonky in G.I. Joe classifieds. They don't stay in very well. But I mean, once you got him here with all his gear in his backpack, he does look very Falcon-like, if that makes sense. But still, I don't... This does not look close enough for my tastes, my personal taste. So hey, if you like it, you like it. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but this figure has a lot of stuff going on that I definitely don't like. The face is the biggest one. Alright, and that's Falcon and CoverGirl. Falcon has a lot of issues, not too pleased with him. But CoverGirl was pretty cool. CoverGirl, I'm happy to get one of. I didn't have one when I was little. And it's great to have another female in the series, especially one, you know, as cool as her and as iconic, even though I Mandela affected her and couldn't remember her. She was a big part of the cartoon. She was in the comic book too. And it's definitely cool to have her. She's definitely the winner out of this two pair for sure. And I really hope that Falcon is not indicative of a quality change in the classified line. That's what I'd really be worried about, is overall, if this is, you know, issuing a quality change in the line or something like that. Because as far as I can tell, there's a whole new sculpt, but he definitely wasn't thought through as well as some of the other ones. And some of the sculpt work, especially the head, kinda ugly, not gonna lie. If you're not a fan of these two figures, I would say you're not missing much by skipping them. But I would definitely recommend getting CoverGirl for sure, just for another female, another cool part of the series. Alright, thanks for tuning in, thanks for chatting, and playing with our plastic together.